student community. There are some concerns that the SRC has about the restructure as a whole. In case you don't know, the University of Sydney is having quite a large restructure, which includes amalgamating a whole bunch of the faculties. The faculties are going from 16 into 9. There's also a degree cuts planned by 2020, which are from 122 into 20. It is confirmed that, of course, the Bachelor of Fine Arts and Visual Arts at Sydney University will be hanging around in that time. And there's, we have quite a large concern about this because the University of Sydney has, over the last decade or more, been consistently attacking, the offerings at the university and also the conditions of staff. So I guess some of the concrete things that we do know is in late November, actually on the last day of staff before they went to on Christmas break, Linda Hutchinson, the Chancellor, confirmed all of these changes, and including that SCA, Sydney College of the Arts, would be merging with the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, which is located on main campus. There's been a lot of speculation over the last decade about SCA moving from this site. It is our impression that that they very much do plan to leave the site. When Liam and I were talking to the Vice Chancellor, Michael Spence, the other day, they did say that there was quite large fiscal problems with the site. It doesn't make enough money. It is the SRC stance that that is not the baseline that management should be taking when it comes when student, education is taken into consideration. This is based off taxpayers' money. This is a public institution, and we operate in a society where education should be a right. So we're going to have a few speakers. Do
you have a laptop in the computer, please?
Maybe I'll go have a look. So Mel from SCASS, the head of Sydney College of the Arts Students Society, is going to do a quick speech. It'll be great if Jamie Parker, the local MP for Balmain, could maybe do a 5-minute spiel about what you know and your experience with the Yeah, sorry about that. And anyone else, if you would like to speak on this matter, we do have some speaking time before we open the floor up to discussion. And you're more than welcome to, perhaps I would say, a maximum of 5 minutes on a perspective point, and then we can move straight into that discussion.
So, good morning everyone. As we've said, my name is Melissa Babius, and I'm president of the Student Society here in Sydney College of the Arts, and I just graduated my honours degree last year. So, since the early 1990s, the university sector has been responsible for the majority of Australia's tertiary arts education and has shaped the Australian arts and cultural landscape. Universities like USYD, SCA, have become places for artists to connect and form connections and meaningful collaborations and lifelong relationships. It is for this reason that community is the most important core value of SCA. I'm appalled by the state of SCA, and I'm concerned of the neglect of the SCA campus and its community of staff and students. I would like to contextualise the current move and merger we are facing in 2016 with the cuts in 2015 and emphasise the importance of consultation of students and staff in the decision-making processes of SCA. In semester 1 in 2015, the postgraduate end-of-year degree show was discontinued. The postgraduate show was an important tradition at SCA for many years, and it gave students an opportunity to share their achievements with family, friends, and fellow students in the broader community. But the degree show, unfortunately, was discontinued. The postgraduate show was an important tradition for everyone, and it symbolised more than just that. The end-of-year degree show symbolised community, and a community where all students are included and shown in a show that is to remember years to come. However, it is not only the cuts that distress students and staff, but the manner in which these cuts were introduced, with little to no consultation with students and staff. Students at the postgraduate level who were already enrolled at SCA, who expected to have an end-of-year show, suddenly missed out with no formal written disclosure. Following these cuts, SCASS initiated its first SCASS forum outside the cafe, publicly stating that the university had breached its consultation policy. SCASS stood before students and staff and recognized their right to free inquiry. The principles of the academic board policy on the consultation with students states the following principles. The university is committed to promoting a culture that supports open dialogue with students and respect for student opinion. Free and open discussion with and among students is an essential component of academic discourse, intellectual debate, and the evolution of ideas. Consultation with students and student representative bodies and the involvement of students in legal decision-making is a foundational value of the university and a core element of maintaining and improving quality. Students make a crucial contribution to the formation of Sydney Uni's values and provide vital perspective on its academic programs and operations. Following the first SCASS forum, a letter was sent out to the Dean to students and staff about the changes. Similarly, our second SCASS forum that addressed the move and the merger rumours that had flooded the media also addressed this same issue of consultation. And SCA will now comply with the student consultation policy of the University of Sydney through the revival of the Student and Staff Committee in 2016 that will be announced in week 1 of this semester. SCASS has proposed the following structure suggestions to be similar to the SCASS Student Committee. In this committee, there will be representatives of each year. We suggested that there be a democratic vote and speeches given addressing why the students were interested in representing their year. Committee members of the SCASS SC and SCASS Executive are also welcome to be a representative in the Staff Student Committee in 2016. I highly encourage you to join these groups. This formalised Student Staff Committee will take over the role that SCASS informally filled in 2015 through its meetings, through the SCASS forums, and for the postgraduate cuts, and also for this move and merger. There's not yet been a debate that's free and open discussion for students to talk about the SCA move and merger. And today I prepared this PowerPoint to review and provide you with the information we have of what action you can take to get your student voice heard. By attending the student protests at main campus, for example on the 16th of March, you can speak out against the university and these changes. You can also join the Say No to Sydney College of the Arts merger with social sciences on the Facebook group. You can also join, obviously, the consultation group that's being formed by the university and SCASS, and you can sign the petition to give alumni back their voice in the Senate by following up the petition. So I would just go. This is just a consultation policy which you can grab at the end. And this is a basic timeline. So on Thursday the 12th of November, members of SCA student and staff contributed to a discussion in the cafe, and we collated questions for the Dean to answer. Tuesday the 24th, we met with Supra in regards to the move and the merge of SCA. 16th of December, SCASS had a meeting with Colin Rhodes, Andrew Lavery, Associate Dean, Charlene Griffin's Executive Officer in Building 13 about this proposed move and merger. We went through the proposed questions one by one, alongside with Vice President Ben Lasker, Student Committee Rep Madeline Fountain, myself, and the Super Vice President Kylie. And then on 16th, an email was sent out by Belinda Hutchison about the proposed merger of Sydney College of the Arts with social sciences. These are media links that you can use and look at later. I'm just summarising the current media stories that have come out over the last year or so. So this first story for the Sydney Morning Herald. There's an opportunity for the new Minister, Rob Stokes, to help make Callan Park a vibrant arts hub, but if he allows the university to walk away, the future of Callan Park looks bleak. So mainly in the media at this stage, we're looking at Callan Park of being this key arts hub for the university to activate the space and have more happening in terms of what's happening in Callan Park area. In a West Courier on the 21st of May, the New South Wales government was refusing to implement the Callan Park master plan, and Darcy Byrne was the Leichhardt counsellor. He said the master plan identifies the College of Arts as a key to attracting other arts and cultural organisations to make a home in Callan Park. There is an opportunity to make Callan Park an arts hub for the whole of Sydney, but that opportunity will be lost if the government allows the university to walk away. Then Sydney Morning Herald came out with the story that the COFA and National Arts School and SCA had all been talking about working together in some sort of way, and a potential move or merge of the colleges. And this was in reaction, I think, to the arts cuts at that point. Then Inner West Courier on 24th of November, an SCS spokeswoman confirmed issues about the viability of the university, which we later on brought up with the dean, who said the university was viable. Then the university does not want to address the cost issue, so at that point, then the university was yet to confirm details of whether the facility will be relocated, merged with another faculty or external institution, or even remain available to visual arts students. And then this was obviously Jamie who brought out this story through the Greens. So the University of Sydney has indicated it intends to move SCA from the site in 2017. And that there's a huge, with the attack on the arts funding at a federal level, combined with the financially squeezed universities, this move could spell the end of courses deemed as too expensive. SCA contains highly specialised facilities, some of Australia's best glass and ceramic kilns. This move may prove the end of these important glass and ceramic courses. And again, I have the same point to Honi Soit, emphasising that point that glass and ceramics, if SCA moves, we will no longer have those facilities that are really a core part of what we have here at SCA. Why international students come here is because to access those glass facilities. Students are all doing those electives, and they're really such a huge and amazing skill for artists to have. And without the educational facilities, how do we have those skills? How do we build those skills for the artists who, from generations that are coming through, to have the opportunity to use glass as a medium? And then Hal Greenland, who's the president of the Friends of Callan Park, he brought out in the National Trust magazine that SCA was not always an ideal tenant, but it did restore and maintain the main fabric of Kirkbride and had a minimal impact on the parklands, finding a similarly benign single tenant would be a major challenge to the trust. So in terms of the community, SCA has had not any sort of environmental footprint on the grounds. And so for us to be here is a really positive thing for the community, because it means that we're keeping this place sustained, we're ensuring the heritage is being looked after, looking after the place, ensuring it's clean, and all these things that are important to have in this Callan Park area, because a lot of heritage is just gone, it's been degraded, there's cats, infestation around some of the buildings, and the buildings are just being not used, and to have these empty lots and nothing happening would just be ridiculous. But to have a tenant that has this minimal impact would be really difficult to find, which is exactly what Hal was talking about. Then the Dean's response. On social media, there was quite a lot of conversation, dialogue happening around November, December last year. And Colin Rhodes said, this said, SCA is suffering from financial issues because of its isolation from the main campus and the fact that Callan Park as a whole has been left in limbo for decades now because of disagreements between the state, local government, making it incredibly hard to activate the campus effectively. So Colin's pretty much saying that the reason that SCA hasn't been able to be fully utilised or activating that space is because somehow the Callan Park Master Plan wasn't implemented. But I think it's our responsibility being in this campus that we take stuff out into the space, that we activate the spaces, regardless of there being a master plan. We can easily activate this place. Coming out in the studios, working outside, doing site-specific works, working outside in the entire, that Callan Park area, putting works there.
What do you mean by activate the space?
Pardon?
What do you mean by activate the space?
Like,
And why, how is it that?
Make
Like
it
having
more
it not
vibrant.
be deserted. You know
Yeah.
how like when you come in the morning, it's just like a ghost town. It's a little creepy.
But also, like, there's no development that you can really make with the building because it isn't like 100% ours. Like, if you want it, like,
We might just, sorry to interrupt, but we might just do questions after Mel's speech, and then we'll go into like a deep discussion for at least half an hour. Sorry, like.
and then this is the same post as what was on Facebook, which is also on the SCA Facebook group. Then just media summary. SCA, there's minimal damage on the parklands, which is a really positive thing. And we've maintained the heritage, which is a really good reason for us to move. New South Wales government has not implemented the master plan for Callan Park, and that's why Callan Park hasn't been able to become a vibrant arts hub. Meeting between UNSW Art and Design, COFA, formerly COFA, National Art School and Synagogue Arts, that there's a potential for a centre of excellence, which has been the same rhetoric for the arts cuts, where if you've seen in the media, there's been a bunch of cuts, not even just to arts itself, like welfare, health, education, and this is just part of all of that. And there's been almost no consultation with the local community, which has had a real stake in the future of SCA. So with this, not only has there been no real consultation with students and staff, there's not really been a proper consultation with groups outside of SCA. And how does this affect them? If we move, it's a huge impact on anyone who is here. And there'll be a vacant lot. Who will replace us as a tenant? How will that affect the community? And a whole bunch of other issues. This is just a couple of questions. And then simply this is a summary of what you can do. What I was saying before, attending the protest rally on the 16th, joining the group on Facebook, which will give you a whole list of posts that we have a prior alumni, Bill Cito, who's posting a number of stories, that every story that comes through that's related to that, and obviously joining consultation, everything I said before. So now we should open up conversation. I will go back to these questions.
My name's Jamie Parker. I'm the member for the seat of Balmain. The Balmain electorate includes Leichhardt, Lilyfield, Annandale, Glebe, Camperdown, Forest Lodge, Ultimo, and obviously the Balmain Peninsula, and Callan Park is at the heart of the electorate. I've come along here obviously to listen, but I wanted to give you a bit of information as well, a little bit about the history and a little bit about where we're now with Callan Park. So actually on this site there should be 1,800 units just over there. The former Labor government actually had approved a master plan to build almost 2,000 apartments on this site, and this is the site of vigorous community action where there were rallies and protests and demonstrations and petitions and letter writing, all the things we're talking about here today, which finally broke the nexus between the government and the developers who were trying to sell off this land for private development. And so Colin, the Dean, talks a little bit about, well, nothing's happened. Well, this is actually a heavily contested site, and no one has been strong enough to break the impasse. The pro-development lobby, the people that want to sell the site, haven't had the power to overcome the community and other opposition, so there has been some stasis for some time in this site. But you'll remember that the Leichhardt Council produced a master plan, which is a legal document in the Act, the Environmental and Assessment Act, which describes the care, control and management of the site. And in that, it had an amazing proposal for what should happen around the site of the Sydney College of the Arts. I was the mayor of Leichhardt Council when that was developed, and we submitted to the government, and the government at that stage wasn't sure how to deal with it. And part of the problem is so many different government agencies are involved in this site. Just recently, about a year ago, the government finally, after a very long battle, committed to creating a trust for Callan Park. Set up the Bicentennial Park Trust, the Parramatta Park Trust, to create a trust specifically for this site, which is a really amazing achievement. It's now also been taken away, thank goodness, from the Sydney Harbour Foreshore Authority, which is now under finance and property. If it was under finance and property, it'd be sold, it'd be gone. But it was instead put under environment and heritage, which was a remarkable breakthrough about 8 months ago. And the Minister for Environment and Heritage now has carriage of this site. And he and the Minister of Planning have both committed to build a trust for the site. The Department of Health owns the site, but at the moment they've just about finished negotiations with Environment and Heritage so that a trust can be announced and they can get on with implementing a trust. So if it works, it will be a real win for this community. But what does it mean for you? What the university is proposing and what's going on? Well, obviously I meet with the university regularly. I meet with, they've got some very strange people, the Chief of Staff to the Vice Chancellor. It's like West Wing or something, you know. And it's pretty clear they want to move the campus here, close it down and move it to main campus. That's obvious. Obviously what my concern is that there really has been, even though we say there's not an invigorated hub around this building, there is an amazing arts community here. You just have to go up to Balmain Road and see the artist studios, the art galleries that are around the place. There's a real interaction, and my concern is that will be lost if SCA moves. Of course, the level of communication, to use the university speak, has been suboptimal, which means that people have been arguing amongst each other. What faculty should we amalgamate with? Who really has control? When are we going to close it down? The university has made some commitments. They basically said if you've entered into a degree now, you will graduate with a University of Sydney degree. And the reason why they say that is because they're really trying to bring the three main art centres together. Personally, I don't think that's going to work. I think SCA has its own individual history. It's a very different institution to National Art School, very different to UNSW Art and Design. And we can talk a little bit about that later, but historically there was a specific reason why SCA was put off main campus on this site. The university spent over 10 million, about $14 million to renovate this incredible heritage building. So they've invested a lot of money in the site. But of course, as you know, student numbers have fallen, and the university attitude is there's what, 40 staff or something. Well, these students, we can stick them over in main campus, save a lot of money. And that is really the driving force behind it from what I can see. There is no artistic imperative, intellectual imperative, or philosophical imperative which is taking the university down this track. My concern for you as students is the destabilisation of the organisation, that if and when this amalgamation does happen, what that will mean for the particular skill set that we have in the organisation here at SCA, which staff will go, who will stay, which courses will have preeminence. Obviously, there's always a fight about should it go to art and should it go to design, should it go to architecture faculty, should it be in general arts. They're the questions I think which are heavily contested at the moment. There's also the issue of some of the really important infrastructure here. You saw me mention in a press release recently the glass and the kilns. The university has said we intend to replace like for like. But there's no guarantee of that. We haven't seen any rock solid commitment from that, and we know the fact that the university is not really playing it very straight. I think, and I've said this clearly to the university: just be straight with people. They came and saw me late last year with the documents that were being released in this strategic plan. It was very clear then they intend to move the students and staff out of Cullen Park. Well, just be clear and tell people, and have an open discussion with people. And I fear that hasn't been as positive as it could have been. So my concern as a local MP representing this area isn't to give Colin a kick or anything. I get on with Colin quite well. I think he's done a lot of positive things, or to attack the university, but to say that from my perspective, or from the perspective of my community, having such an incredibly important institution in the area is very powerful. It's important not only for the local network of arts and artistic endeavour in the area, it's important for the future of this site. Obviously, there's a concern that if the university was to vacate, the government might rub its hands and think, well, hang on, we could sell this. That this is something that we could possibly take on as an asset to sell in the future. So they're my concerns, but really it's important for you as students to work out what you think is best for you and what you think is best for this institution. And I'll be also guided by what you have to say here today. So thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make a suggestion that at the protest we all bring an artwork to give us more visibility, and also show that the contributions that we make.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. In particular, I was thinking about creating giant cardboard scissors. I've been collecting over the last couple of weeks a whole bunch of cardboard that I'm going to bring. And I'm going to be making the scissors beforehand to give out to people to hold as an object of prop. It's got a sort of data edge as well, and for people, it's like performative as well. So something like that, and yeah, everyone can bring something, science, anything.
I think that's an issue with SCA's identity not really being communicated. you have 3 options for fine arts education in Sydney, and they all do very specific things. SCA, like, every student here picks SCA at least partially because of its grounds. It's more inspirational, your thought is better, they teach you how to properly consider how you make creative works. We make works that are based on history, works that are based on the landscape. It's central to people who live in the inner west, and that's where so much of the art community lives. I worked in a gallery last year and had contact with some of Australia's best artists around the time that this was a concern, and their response was, why? But that's where all the best artists come from, because they know how to think about what they're making. COFA students are great for business. NAS students are great for technical skills. But if you want to broaden your mind, SCA is where you come. And if we're not thinking about how you think here, then why does SCA even exist? Why would we want to be like COFA? Why would we want to be like NAS? SCA has its own identity, and that's the point of it being here. If we move into another building, like the law building, which is completely sterile, where do you think the complex thought is going to be? It makes it no different to being in a corporate building. Stick us in offices. It's no better than that. We come here to be enriched by the landscape. We don't come here to sit at a desk. What's the point?
Very good.
Yeah, I think you've just got it in one. So what I'm really interested in, I've worked with Dylan as the other education officer. He's been the main organiser behind this, and I think it's been something really good to see, because we're trying to, in addition to trying to get masses of students involved in a protest, reach out to the communities that are going to be affected by this. So why you hit it in one is this is a left-wing crowd. Grassroots always gets the most amount of votes here, so I'm going to go a bit this is a national issue. So I've done a lot of national organising at a state-based level. The University of Sydney gets 18% of its funding from the government. The rest of it comes from investments, the money they make off students, etc., etc. So we are seeing this as a national trend. SCA is an art school. In Adelaide, they made horrific, gutting of staff in their music school, of really immense staff cuts, because it's always the arts that come first. The first arts unit they always cut is gender studies. They always go for this sort of stuff first, and that's really important to know. UWA, 300 staff as well. But it also reaches into what this university is all about currently. So deregulation didn't pass, 100k degrees didn't happen. That means that universities are still critically underfunded. So that is why we are seeing restructures at university across university all over the nation. So SCA is a great example, but it fits into a national trend of what is happening in higher education. Universities are underfunded. The way to respond is to restructure, because by centralising all these schools, by merging all these faculties, Michael Spence said in a meeting, there is 1.5 administrative staff to every 1 academic staff. I want that number to be as little as possible. That would mean he is considering cutting 1/3 of administrative staff. Think how many jobs that's going to involve. And that is achieved by centralising 16 faculties and 16 faculties in schools down to 6 faculties and 9 schools, and 3 schools. They can get rid of a hell of a lot of people. So that's what they want. They want centralisation. Why would they care about SCA? Student numbers are falling. He said, we need to fund the business school more. SCA and the con cost us a heaps of money. This is like a neoliberal attack by them. They hate the amount of faculties. They don't, what their vision of a university isn't like communities being able to self-govern themselves autonomously. It's them being at the top, getting to make all the decisions about the communities. It's not you guys leading what's happening, it's them. So I've got a lot else to say, but I'll let other people talk and then maybe bounce off other people's ideas.
I think the community thing is sort of what you were saying, and it's really, I know definitely a few people. One of my mates said it last year when we heard about this, and he said, if I was in first year and I had to go to the main campus and spend all my time there, he just said I wouldn't go.
We went in first year last year, and the fear of not being able to finish it, we chose here for that reason.
But also this is what my friend said as well, was just the fear in general.
Yeah.
Just in general.
There's no security.
People, and also people do things people come here and straight out of high school or something, and I don't know, they naturally do things that a bit weird or something like that, and they can't if they go to the main campus and they're in this big mass group again, and they become inhibited they become inhibited.
Like
again.
standardised students. Standardised.
And they're not, so here people are kind of allowed to be themselves and develop in a way that is being themselves. And I feel like if they went to main campus, like my mate said, he just said, I remember he's like quite confident now, and he's like, just confident. But in first year he was like really quiet, and really, I don't know if that would happen if he was at.
Madeline, back.
I'm the second year SCASS Meeting member, and what these guys are talking about is exactly what I like. There's so many different things that need to be addressed and fixed, and we all have to come together on a lot of different levels. I think Jamie did a great job of kind of articulating all of the different stakeholders in this issue. For me, being a second year and representing my peers for the moment, I just would really like to help everybody focus on the work at hand for the undergraduate degree that they've signed up for, and to somehow be working together to understand the implications of these changes so that we can stop the anxiety. Like from Anthea and Ruby who've spoken as undergrads, it's like, it's the rumours and the uncertainty that are eroding our experience as undergrads. And so like when I hear about cat infestations in the Historic Houses Trust, that's not primarily what I think we just need to pool our resources and focus our energies on what, you know, if we're going to move, there are certain sort of expectations and guarantees that the degree that we signed up for in the studio space that looks like it does at the moment should be mirrored. And I don't think it's going to be a very easy thing for the university to whimsically take all of that away. So I think there's a lot of there's a lot of anxiety feeding a lot of rumours. I don't think all of the press stuff has necessarily had as much veracity as it could have had, and that's making the undergraduate population very, very unsettled. And I'd really like that to change. And I think that like management has, I personally, my experience as a new student, I was a first year last year. I was here in '96 when we moved over from the Balmain campus, and then I went and had a life and I've come back. So I know what it feels like to move from one art school to another, and by and large, it's not a bad thing as long as you've got open lines of communication and trust between all of the stakeholders. And for me, the management that I've experienced since I've been here in the last year has always been prepared and open to answer any question that I have put to them in a professional manner. So some people have a different experience to me. Me personally, everything I've asked, I've gotten a clear answer for, and I have quite a good understanding of where it's at. And I just want my friends in first, second and third year to feel that too. So I just hope we can start working together a bit more against the bigger changes. That's all.
So going back to Anthony's before, I took a gap year specifically to save up my own car and get a license so that I could come here because I live quite far away. So my time travelling here now is only about an hour, and there's student parking, which is amazing. If we go to main campus, we're not going to have that for pretty obvious reasons, which would suck. That would up my travel time to about 2.5 hours from where I'm coming from, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to experience that. So I don't know, I think that would be something really unconsidered by like uni management. And as well, like I definitely chose the grounds as like, I was picking between here and Copa, and I went, you know what, SCA seems more like a community. Copa seems like a bunch of douchebags walking around like going, I feel like that when I came to SCA, you know, like I felt like it was a community. I felt like I could talk to the teachers and they would remember who I was, not like, you know, just
And don't just become a number. You're not one of the thousands and thousands of people that are on main campus.
And we don't learn the same way as people on main campus. Like you can't apply medicine, people who study medicine, you can't say that they learn the same way as people who study finance. You can't say that people who study law learn the same way as people who study finance. There's a good reason to keep us separate. Where like if you're an artist, you need the correct vibe, and that's not the right vibe for us. It's just not.
And I think as well, something else that hasn't really been addressed by the university management is what will happen to the actual buildings once we leave. One of the SMH articles, you know, kind of said it would be like demolition by neglect. And I think as artists, we should be giving a shit about that, because like that sucks. Like, this is an amazing place. And if they implement the master plan, like, it would be amazing. There should be cafes, there should be a wine bar, there should be a wedding venue, like down near the water. You know what I mean? Like, it could be this amazing place. And it's just like shit that they're letting it
Exactly.
get caught up in
Balmain
this
has
battle.
a huge family presence. Balmain, Birchgrove, Leichhardt, Lilyfields all have a fantastic family presence that are really family orientated. And Callan Park has so much potential to just hone in on that and be for all the families and for people to enjoy it as a community. And I can't believe that there are people who think that we should just develop it into property. And it's so incredibly heartbreaking because it's such a fantastic campus and it's heritage listed and it's fantastic buildings and it's massive grounds and it's right next to the water. I mean, there's so much potential for a fantastic arts hub here, and it's just completely ignored, and the university is just trying to cut costs and cut all those corners and cut out the individuality just for the sake of having a massive conglomerate of everyone all together.
And it contributes to like this like complete privatization of a good time thing that Sydney's doing. You've got lockout, you've got bike regulations. Now we're losing arts centres. Like, we're losing everything. Why even live in Sydney anymore if we don't have these opportunities? I've spoken to students who go here who are like, I'm going to transfer to Melbourne. I do not see the point. If this goes ahead, there's nothing left here for anyone who's part of a minority. We're a minority. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like this whole thing feels systematic of a government that's kind of destroying the city. And like, I love the campus, I love the area, but we've covered that pretty well as well. But my main concern is like, I started doing hot glass this semester, and just the slight chance that we might lose hot glass facilities, the ceramics facilities here, if we did move, that would be so tragic. Like, we've got facilities that other unis would dream of having. We've got this giant giant press in the etching studio that you can do these awesome giant etchings that you can't do at other campuses across Australia. Like, just the loss of facilities would be devastating for what SCA does for the art community, helping us develop these skills and expand our own knowledge of art. Like, I would never have dreamed of the stuff I've learned here in just 2 years, and I'm in my third year now. I'm going to learn a hell of a lot more, and I will finish this year's, probably, hopefully do honours, but that other people won't get that same opportunity. Like, that really upsets me. Like, everyone should have this chance.
Can I just speak to that, because just to make you feel better, that's my intention. Like, I've seen the document that went to Sydney University infrastructure, and the kilns and the glass facilities were in that document. So just for like this period of time, I just think it's really important for us to just love those kilns, use those kilns, and until we have confirmation that they're ripping them away from us, I think it's a lot of wasted energy. Like, fight for it, be very, very clear that it's important to your practice and that you want people coming behind you to enjoy that. But I just think we need to stop saying they're taking the kilns, they're taking the kilns, they're taking the kilns, because that's not fact.
See, I had an issue with that because I started.
Look, I just support everything that you're saying. I think that we can't prematurely assume anything. We don't know if the Centre of Excellence is going to happen. We don't know if the merger into SCASS is going to happen. But I think the one point that I want to bring to this as an academic staff member is that you have to choose your battles quite carefully. I think that we all have to consider the fact that we will move. That seems to be pretty much on the cards that we will move. I think putting our energies into staying at Callan Park is going to really dissipate what could be a major move to protect the curriculum. Now, this is what's most important. You have to have the tools and the means to protect that curriculum. And I'm very pleased to hear that the student and staff committee has been resurrected. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is your main access point into the learning and teaching committee, into the various committees that make rulings about what sort of curriculum you're going to have. And I think that's where you've got to put your energies into maintaining a presence there and ensuring that you have a say in what this art school will look like in whatever other incarnation it takes. It's inevitable we're going to move fast.
So we're going to go to...
I think it is.
But I'm going to take last speakers because we might be kicked out. And again, we should try to spend the last few minutes either. If we can't finish up in here, finish up outside and maybe discuss if we can all keep in contact.
Sorry, because my main issue is more the feedback that hasn't happened and people not knowing what's happening. I started here in 2010. I started as a glass major. I'm entering as a sculpture major with no option to stay as glass, which was not my choice, but I'm happy with. But it was not a choice that I could make. It was one that was just put on me. In that time, we've lost technicians and we've lost the amount of technical information that we had in glass to learn those structures, and I know that ceramics has as well. So we're losing some of the faculty information in that as well, which is going to happen when you go from a glass course to a sculpture course, because then you can diversify, and that's fine. But I think the options are getting less and the talk didn't happen. So that's my main issue, is the fact that the information wasn't free, as someone behind me has been saying that they see it now that it is.
It shouldn't be a representative to see the information. Like,
it should be a bit more freely.
Well, I was just a first year and I just used the pathways that I could see available to get the information, and it's not just me alone. This is me working with Mel and Dorrit and other and Super and everything. Yes, I absolutely agree that historically, that's what I was saying. Other people have had an experience where there's been a lack of transparency and consultation, but just coming in from first year, I just found that as soon as I started asking questions, those questions have been forthcoming, and I think the culture at management level has changed. So we'll see that with the new committee opening up again. And so yes, I did say that my experience from last year has been different to what I've heard other people have experienced.
I think what we're saying is that the students shouldn't have to ask for this information. It should simply be a given that they receive it.
Shouldn't have to go looking for it.
Yeah. Like not just emails, but even in the meeting with the dean himself, he said that he wanted to have a formal sort of forum where people can come and talk. But this should have been happening without us asking for it. This is something that the university should be doing, and it's part of their policy to consult with students. That's why the importance of what Michael Goldberg's saying of the student staff committee that's forming is going to be so important for the progression of wherever we go. Whatever happens, that committee will be a part of that consultation, and they can give that information out to everyone else. And as well as the university coming in the auditorium, giving a talk to everyone, so they're well informed and they know exactly what's going on.
Did you want to finish up your point?
No, that was just...
Yeah. So we just have, I think 3 last speakers, 4 last speakers. We'll do beginning with you, then
So what I wanted to say is, regardless of whether or not we're keeping these facilities such as the kilns and the glass blowing materials, if the problem is that we're not drawing enough people into SCA, I think that's hugely the fault of the marketing, because people don't know that we have these materials. I think I've heard a lot of complaints about, for instance, the banner outside. It's got like a picture of some lady and she's like just splattering paint on a canvas on the ground, and it really gives us the image of just like sort of childlike figures who want to play around with paint. But I tell people from the main Sydney uni campus that since I started here, I've used sand blasters, a high pressure water hose, a dark room, acid baths, an actual forge. And the first thing they often say to me is, oh, I should do some electives at SCA. So yeah.
Geography elective, like the most popular elective class in the entire city elective range. I've heard that it's like the most demanded.
That sounds about right to me, and I know a lot of people from main campus who've done the class
Yeah, like, I know
as well.
most main campus people, but like across the board.
So just before we go over to that third floor, I'm just going to pass around, just because we're running out of time, just keep a contact list if anyone does feel passionate about this issue, whether that's for the merger or is like staunchly against the merger. I would like to stay in touch, and I think it would be great to extend this chat. But just to make sure that we don't lose touch and get kicked out of this room, I might just pass that around.
Also keep posted in the emails as soon as that student meeting comes up. If you're interested in being part of that, I think that that's really important to get involved in.
Just going back to Michael's point from before, protecting our curriculum is great, but what about protecting the Kirkbride buildings? Like, how can you just resign yourself to the fact that we're moving? That sucks. Like, screw you if you're just, kind of like, no, we're going to move, like, might as well make the best of it. I don't want to move.
Also, how do you, like, the curriculum fits the buildings? Like, we'd have to change it anyway.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, the Kirkbride buildings and Callan Park are part of SCA's identity. And, like, by extension, my own identity. And, like, I just think it sucks that people would just be like, well, we're moving, like, get over it. Like, come on, we got to do something about it. Like, you can't, I don't know, just, the Kirkbride buildings are really important and they'll probably fall into disrepair. So, step up.
Or be developed into something that's completely reductive to our cause in the first place.
And that's rubbish.
So, okay, we're going to go perhaps, so just down the back and then over here, and then perhaps we can have Jamie and Liam try to sum up as last speakers. Just got your hand up. And you are both elected officials. But I do think that it actually doesn't matter if you are an elected official, but this should not be a campaign which is run by people like who like some type of top-down campaign. At the end of the day, you should have as much say as anyone else in this building, and I think we're very capable of actually having that through being like collectivising basically our grievances. That's when as students and as staff we are the strongest. So yeah, just going.
I'm Virginia. I'm tech staff in Screen Arts. Just a few things. I think that the technical facilities here are incredibly unique. So I really agree with this gentleman in front. And that there are things that don't exist in other fine art facilities in Australia. So I think that is something definitely worth fighting for. I think as students, I agree with Michael to pick your battles, but as students just know that you are powerful, and your opinion is powerful. So I urge you to use those channels. And in terms of this Cullen Park, what I know from Leichhardt Council, from the Mayor, is that Sydney University, Sydney College of the Arts being here is really pivotal to Leichhardt Council's cultural corridor plan, which they submitted to the state government in 2011, and they're still waiting a response from the state government. So that gives you a sense that this is it is bigger than the university. So we're up against extremely conservative government, and you can just see that in a very similar situation happening at Newcastle Uni, where the fine arts faculty was kind of morphed into creative industries, and they support entrepreneurship. So rather than wanting to support artists and fine artists, in those skills, it's about industry, and that is not necessarily a bad thing on its own, but I think it's a signal of the times, very conservative times. So I'm interested to you know, if I can, in any way, I support the student voice.
I reckon we need some information about what the conditions will be like if the move goes ahead. Because potentially it could be amazing if you think about that, if you let your imagination go to work and you think about the possibilities of building a brand new portion of the main campus, which is committed to visual arts. But like that's sort of the dream reality, and what are they looking at doing when they move? Like, are they going to sort of scatter us around campus? Is it going to be a new building? Are they going to build new facilities? I mean, because you can remake this whole place over there potentially. But,
it's a bit of time if it's only a year from now,
Yeah,
potentially. Or they're just going to show us in some random classroom and call it a day.
Exactly. And are they doing that?
Yeah. Well, how about this? I think after we go through our last two speakers, perhaps we can do just two votes very quickly. One of them to have the SRC come back here after going through and doing a very kind of concrete fact-finding mission. We have tried before. We have gone to the Vice Chancellor's office, and they have refused to say very much at all. But yeah, we can go on that. Maybe we can come back here within the month, and then we can vote on that if we are welcome back, if that's something you would like to see again. And the second would be just a poll on whether this room right now is actually opposed to SCA leaving Callan Park. I think that is essential, and then perhaps at the next meeting we can do another one.
One of the first ones is the SRC education officers will help any staff and students to organise.
To give it.
Addition, yeah, of course. So like, we're always here for everyone. And then the second one, like obviously there's a lot of difference of opinion between staff and students in terms of whether or not it should be Callan Park. Maybe the vote should be something like that this room currently feels like the university, I don't know, it's not adequately disagrees with the university's treatment of SCA and intended plans for SCA more broadly, rather than just making it about one issue, because it's also about the faculty manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just quickly write that down onto that at the end? So just Jamie, Liam, did you actually want to just...
do you want to go first, Jamie?
Yeah, I'll say something very quickly. So just quickly, it's pretty clear that there's a lot of very strong views on all the different sides. One thing I can guarantee you 100% is the university is not going to build a new building for SCA. Guarantee it. Because in all my discussions with the university, they've spoken about the relatively small student numbers and the relatively small staff numbers, which are therefore relatively easy just to dissipate into the main campus. So they're not going to build anything special, they're not going to build anything new, and that's absolutely 100%. That's one thing we do know is clear. In terms of the move, well, there is flux about whether it will happen or whether it won't happen. I mean, it's a function of a whole lot of things, the finances, whether people put on a big fight, whether they think they can generate some other forms of revenue from the site. There's a whole lot of different things. So I know, for example, there's a passionate crew here. It's something that you should always feel invigorated to be able to do. The last thing about the curriculum I think is really important that you raised about curriculum, and this committee is an admission that it hasn't been done well. The fact that this committee is being re-established demonstrates that the university acknowledges they haven't really done it that well in terms of engaging and speaking to people. And everything you see says, oh, no final decision has been made yet. That's because they're trying to work out how they can make this thing work. As you know, the 3 other campuses that they're talking to, everyone's very chauvinistic and wants to have their own thing, and so they should. Because as someone said here at the front, SCA was created, and you look back in 1994, why it was put here, and the inspiration for why it's put here, it's different, very different. And as you said at the back there, it's not just about throwing bits of paint on a canvas. It has a different approach, a different philosophy, a different attitude, a different ambience as well, which is really important. So what I take from this is that there's a lot of discussion and dialogue. There's some people that are very opposed to it, that arises out of the identity of this place. So that's a view that I share, that I have a different perspective because I'm not a student or an academic. I'm here from the kind of community perspective. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the organisers as well, and thank you. You always meet them on Facebook and Twitter before you see them in real life. And I want to thank all of you for coming, because this is going to be a hot issue for quite some time, and I'll do my best to participate and include the community as partners in the dialogue, trying to make sure we get a better result for everyone involved. Thanks.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to echo Jamie's congratulations. I think it's really good to see us finally, like that main campus people who consistently never really do anything regarding inter-campus, actually work with organisations like SCASS and staff and students. The first thing I want to say is, like, you do have a management committee, but that will only get you so far. Like, we have student consultative committee at the university, we all sit on academic board. Like, they tried to remove simple extensions, we had to run a massive campaign against the consultative committee to get that overturned. Like, and I said in that meeting, like, what is, like, students and staff are the beating heart of this university, but all of the consultation you have done for this restructure about things like SCA has been corporate. It's been with HR experts, it's been with the business sector. Like the NTU, the staff union, wrote a counter paper against the restructure saying how concerned they were. So it's not like no student unions support this restructure. We've all come out in opposition to it, and no staff unions do. So if students and staff are the beating heart of the university, that makes us ask serious questions about how we're being treated by the people that are meant to listen to us. So my advice for everyone is they might listen to you a bit, but at the end of the day, they're probably going to fuck you. So what I think you guys need to have a conversation with first is your main priority needs to be being united as a community if you want to make any massive wins. You can't have division between students and staff in any organising you do. And that's going to take compromise because there is a difference of opinion. But if you want your campaign to be successful, it will have to be democratic and it will have to be driven by both students and staff. So my suggestion to everyone in the room is we've just passed around like the sign-up sheet. The SRC has an education budget to help you guys run a campaign. If you're interested in coming to the rally, we can organise a working bee for you guys and a bus to get you there on time. The other thing to be aware of is you have SCASS, but you also have a Facebook group. You should start an organising group. Our EAG meets every week. What you should do is have weekly meetings at the SCA with staff and students in attendance and work out how you want to run a campaign. You can get funding from so many different organisations, the Greens, student unions, you guys are a member of, the USU has I sit on the board of that, we have $22 million we could help you guys out with. Like, there is money out there to run a big campaign, and you guys are fucking art students. Imagine the sort of creative, like, shit you could pull. Like, we're the boring activists. Like, you really are going to be could do some exciting stuff if staff and students stand together. So I don't think we should just end in this room. Please get in contact with me and Dylan. We can help you organise, but also it's the community. How the community bands together now at this critical juncture is going to determine, like, what wins you are going to get. You're not going to win everything. We're running a campaign and we know we're going to lose the vast majority of demands. Our 3 demands are no staff cuts, no course cuts, and no faculty of school mergers. All 3 of those things are going to happen at a fucking tremendous rate. But we're still running a campaign against it, and you guys need to as well, because the wins we get, like things like potentially stopping the education, like faculty close downs, are going to be worth it in the long run, and we need to keep the fight alive. So definitely let's stay in touch.
Yeah, so Liam and I, we met up with Michael Thompson. We've met with them quite a few times. So they're the president of the NTU. And one of the things that came out of that was they've actually jumped behind our 3 demands and they've called a joint staff and student rally as of yesterday. On March 16th, the NTU supports a staff and student rally.
Have you been in touch with the CPSU?
No, we haven't.
We will be for a TAFE campaign though, so I can talk to them about it then.
Yeah, well actually, just because of the room, like we are going to wrap up the meeting now. Unless it's a very quick comment.
Yeah, very quick.
Yeah.
I so admire what's being expressed down there. I haven't heard fighting talk like that for a long time. I'm going back to the 70s. The other thing I did want to mention is I think that if you want to look around you folks, how many students, how many staff in this college, how many people are attending. In terms of the students, you've got to put out a concerted campaign to get more members of SCASS. I was shocked this morning in my class of 3rd years when I said to them, which of you going to the meeting? And there was like no reaction. And I said, which of you are a member of SCASS? There was not one hand that went up. And I was shocked at that. And I think,
for the second years because we...
I took third years.
Yeah, but like a lot of us had classes this morning, but not this afternoon, and started like a couple hours after it finished, and you can't really convince people to stay if they've got 8 hours off in the afternoon.
On that subject, we've got a class we need to get to.
Before you close the meeting, Mel, can we just quickly do the vote? So first, first motion.
Yeah, let me get it. All right, ready to get your hands in the air. Dylan's going to read it out.
Oh my God.
I need to...
Okay, so first, about the staff and students of SCA in attendance, actually I'm going to change that to staff, students and community members of SCA oppose the actions of university management and their intentions more broadly in regards to the future of SCA. So all four for that? All four, yeah. And, okay, all opposed, and there's various abstentions, but all opposed? Abstentions?
I have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's...
Just pretend you're not here.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep. Okay. 16. One. Okay, and okay, actually, can we just do that vote one more time? So that's about the staff and students of SCA in attendance and community members oppose actions of university management and their intentions more broadly in regards to the future of SCA. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Okay, and oppose? 0. And just, yeah, okay. And the second motion, but the SRC Education Department will continue their work with students and staff and community members of SCA to help them organise and voice their concerns to management regarding SCA.
I can't see my page.
Terrific. Okay. So once again, 17 and 1. Sorry, Sam. Okay. Thank you for your time here today, and feel free to hang on